When I was younger, I used to do a lot of trick-or-treating as a kid. I nearly always did this with my mum and dad, obviously for safety reasons and being young. Well, one Halloween when I was a bit younger, I was with a group of my friends. There was 4 of us in total, so me and 3 others. Our parents didn't mind us going out on our own even though it was quite late because there was quite a few of us. They said that as long as we stick together, that would be fine, and that's just what we did. Everything was normal. We actually stayed out a lot later than we thought we were. We started at around 8 and we'd been doing it for a good 2 or 3 hours. The reason we took so long is because where we lived it was pretty remote. There was lots of people there, but all the houses were really far spread apart. You might even have to walk like 500 meters to get to the next one. So when Halloween come round, you had to do a lot of walking. There was some forests as well which separated houses, but anyway, like I said, we were having a good time and it was getting late. We went to this old lady's house and trick or treat. Everything was normal. Got our candy. She seemed quite nice, but she looked a little bit weird. Just the way she was staring at us and didn't say anything when she was giving us the candy. It was pretty strange, we thought, and we could see some movement behind her while we were getting the candy. I know at that moment we should have ran off, but we were young, so we weren't really aware to that many dangers that there could have actually been. Not only that, there was also a really strange smell coming from her house. Anyway, we got our candy and were happy, and we started walking back to another house. This was quite a remote one again, so we had a walk ahead of us. Everything was normal. We were just talking about the candy we had. We all said that it tasted a bit off and funny. We decided we weren't going to eat it. We kept on walking further. Then one of my friends said that there's somebody behind us. Behind us. That's strange. Normally we're the only ones out here doing this trick or treating. But he was right. There was somebody following behind us with some type of hood on. We were guessing they were meant to be Scream. We decided to pick the pace up a little though, because it seemed a bit sketchy. But then we realised as we picked up our pace, so did that person. We decided to stop to see who it was, but we couldn't see anything. They appeared to be holding something in their hand though. That's the only thing we could make out. We realised that they had an axe with them. We're not sure whether it's a Halloween prop or not. It looked real, it looked heavy. It just seemed really sketchy. Then when she got even closer, first we realised it was a she. Then we realised it was a lady. But then as she got even closer, we realised whoever it was smiling. Then it hit us. It was the lady who we'd just been trick-or-treating with. Now she started sprinting towards us. We were all terrified and just sprinted back to our homes. We never told our parents about what had happened. All we know is that one day the police went to visit that old lady's house and she was never seen there again. Looking back on it now, I realise just how dangerous it was and how things could have went a lot worse that night. It always bugs me that I didn't even tell my parents. None of us did. I really wish we did though. I was trick-or-treating this time with my buddy. We knew about some of the houses round here. We knew some of them were meant to be haunted, so we always went up to them just for the fun of it. We had a normal night. It was pretty early, but it was still pretty dark outside, being as it was October. Anyway, we continued with our trick-or-treating, and we went to go up to another supposedly haunted house. Just as we did though, we saw that there was a lady in the window watching us. Oh good, we can get some candy, we thought. So, we both walked up and knocked on the door. Trick or treat. Nothing happened. That was weird, we both thought. We stepped back and rang on the doorbell again, practically shouting this time to try and get a response, but nothing. We thought it was strange. When we got home and told our mum about all the stuff we had done, and when we told her about the lady that was just staring at us from the window and wouldn't even answer, my mum thought this was strange and was worried they might be just a really dodgy person. Later on though, when we were driving past to drop my buddy back off, We pointed to the house and my mum's face went all pale. She didn't say anything, but later she told me that the house was abandoned. Nobody had ever lived there really for at least the last 70 years, and apparently there's a ghost of a lady who likes to stare at people out their window. Me and my buddy were doing some trick-or-treating. We live in a relatively remote area. It's quite a nice place, but you still get a couple of dodgy parts, as with anywhere. It was Halloween night, so we did our trick-or-treating. By the way, we were quite young at the time. We went through all these different houses once we had cleared all the good ones, these being the people with some money, so we always got good candy or maybe even cash off of them. Anyway, we'd done our route and we were pretty bored because we thought that there was no more good candy to get. We knew about a more sketchy area. I was against going to there, but I was young and stupid, so I agreed with my friend to go there. Just before we did, we were sort of eyeing it up, thinking of what to do, when we saw this one house. We thought we'd seen some people go in there earlier, but there was no way to tell, so we waited. What do you know, some people went up there, knocked on the door, got some candy and walked off. Great, we both thought. So we gave it another minute or two for it to clear off. And we both decided to walk up to there. Trick or treat. Oh, you want to play games? Alright, let's play fucking games. We both just stood there, confused. We stepped back and walked off. It kind of shook us up a bit. Then moments later we heard police sirens and a police car pull up. Then two policemen come out with their guns drawn. They walked up to the house and they kicked the door in. Then we could hear a really big commotion going on. Then we saw some crackhead come out with a knife in his hand. He had tried to attack the officer and they gone and arrested him. Later on I realised that this was a crack house and they had just done a drugs bust. Not only that, the guy in there knew the police were coming and he was waiting behind the door with a knife ready to stab whoever come out, being the policeman. I was trick-or-treating with my friend. We'd gotten all of the trick-or-treating done and out of the way, and we knew where a house that was supposedly haunted was. Us being curious, we decided we were going to investigate it. It was a pretty run-down place. We still thought it was haunted, but went in anyway. The front door was locked, so we had to climb through a window. We did this and all was fine. We kept hearing stuff behind us. It was a really creepy and scary creaking noise. I was worried someone was in it and my friend was worried there was a ghost. My friend opened the door to the kitchen and was about to go in it when we heard it. A loud knock in the basement. Needless to say, we both got the fuck out of there and ran back home. Later that night though, I found out that some other people had went in there exploring like us afterwards. They had went into the kitchen and the floor had collapsed. It almost killed one of them. The reason he was alive was his friend managed to grab him. It was Halloween night and me and my younger brother had stayed in. Well, I say that, it was just us in and my mum made me look after him. We already did some trick-or-treating and we decided just to stay in. I couldn't be bothered to keep distributing the candy to the kids at the door, so I just sat on the couch and I let my little brother give out the candy. Well, that for security reasons I would always be in sight of him and obviously I could just get off and if anything happened go and speak to him. This went on like normal. I kind of got engrossed on what I was watching on telly, so I really gotten into it. My man come to the door and my brother opened it like I expected. I turned down the TV a little bit though because it sounded like there was quite a few people. This is what I heard. Hey, are you alone? Good. Yeah, just it's alright, I have some candy in my van. If you'd like to just go and get it for me, that would be great. Do it really quickly though. Just as I heard that, I shot off and sprinted to the door. Thank God my little brother hadn't went anywhere. I chased after that fucker, but he'd already gotten into his van and left. Me and some of my buddies were trick-or-treating on Halloween night. Everything was normal. The night had only just begun, but it was pretty dark outside. Heck, it is almost pitch black because where I live there aren't that many street lights. Everything went normal. Our bags were pretty full. I'd have to say they weighed a few pounds. It was really a good night. We were walking down to see if we had any more houses to hit when, heck, we found one. It looked great. We went up there and there was a little sign. It looked really well decorated. It said, "Trick-or-treaters, come to the back. I've got plenty of candy here." So, that's just what we did. We started walking down the back of it. We passed the signs and they kept on going further and further and deeper into the woods. We finally managed to get to one long stretch. There was these tiny little lanterns every so often that lit up the path to the house at the back. That's odd. There's no Halloween decorations or anything up at the end. We looked at each other kind of scared and thinking of hightailing it out of there. We just stood there, confused when, hey, wasn't that torch on in them lights of the house a minute ago? He was right. Some of the lights in the house were off. I didn't think anything of it. I thought we were just seeing things. Heck, it was pretty dark anyway. We couldn't really see that well backwards. But then I looked in front. Hey, look. I noticed that the torch in front of us went out. So maybe the house lights were, just as we said that. We heard footsteps around us. We looked back and the other torches behind us had went off. So we both just looked at each other and sprinted the fuck out of there, running through the forest to the next path again. As we did this, we heard more stuff behind us. We managed to get home safe, alright. It's just, we don't know what was happening there. It seemed like a setup. We're still not sure to this day. We went to go and knock on the door, trick or treat. We didn't get a response. But then my buddy said, "Hey look, there's a sign there." And the sign read as follows: "The candy is inside one of the decorations, if you can find it." We looked round and couldn't see anything. It was getting kind of creepy at that point and my friend wanted to get out of there, but I was too intent on trying to find that candy. I really wanted that candy. We looked around and finally found what looked like a dead carcass. It was pretty disgusting. It had cobwebs over it. It looks like there was maggots. That looks really realistic for Halloween decorations, I thought. Just as we got close, it really stank. I had a flashlight on me, so I turned it on. What I saw horrified me, and it still scars me to this day, probably because I wasn't expecting it. Some sick fuck thought it'd be a good idea to play a cruel joke on us. It was actually a real dead carcass we were about to put our hands into looking for candy. Not terrifying, just disgusting, really. Horrible, in fact. When I was a kid, I went trick-or-treating with my mum, her friend and my friend. So there was 4 of us in total. Everything was normal. I was too young to tell at the time, but my mum kept looking behind and so did her friend, looking concerned, and they would say something, and when we went to ask what they were talking about, they would say nothing, just keep walking. This went on for about 10 minutes. I realised that we were no longer hitting houses anymore, we were just heading home. It was really creepy to say the least, but anyway, I looked behind and I noticed that there was a car. This same car kept following us. We heard a shouting voice, "Hey, you come here right now. There's 4 of us waiting." We looked behind and I didn't get a chance to look behind me. My mum and my friend's mum grabbed both of us and we just sprinted the fuck home. It never really scared me at the time. I wonder why my mum had to call the cops, but now I think of it later, I understand why it was so scary. During Halloween, me and my friends were on a part of a ghost tour. It was a pretty creepy tour to say the least. It was Halloween night, so there was lots of trick-or-treaters about. We got bored, so ended up ditching the tour and just having a look around this supposedly haunted forest. During the time, there were some trick-or-treaters taking paths nearby just to walk through to get to other places. We were joking, saying that these things we were seeing were actually ghosts, like people dressed up in ghost costumes and stuff. There was one that stood out though. It was a tall black, bird-looking creature. It was really tall, its eyes glowed red. It was disturbing to say the least. Out of all the Halloween suits and costumes guys were wearing, this one looked really scary. As we were walking further, every time we looked back, that whoever it was kept following us. It was pretty disturbing once we went kind of deeper in the forest trying to escape them. Yeah, I know how stupid that was. Let's go deep in the forest to escape them, right? But it's what we did. Anyway, after walking for a while, my buddy turned and said to me, "Hey, you know that thing? It's in the tree now." How the fuck? That couldn't even be possible. Those trees are about 50 foot tall. We looked back and he was right. It was at the very top of one. I let out a scream and just like that, it opened up its wings. It had a massive wingspan and its eyes were glowing red. Needless to say, we got the fuck out of there and ran home. We still don't know what happened that day, but we weren't the only guys who had heard about it. Another group of our friends thought the same thing about somebody playing a prank on us, who weren't too far behind us until they saw it disappear. I was out trick-or-treating with some of my friends. We were having a good time. We found quite a good house to go to. There was an old man who seemed to be really generous. He looked a little off though. We walked up to his house, said trick or treat. He come to the door with this really weird looking smile. He said, "You want candy?" and obviously we said yeah. He went back and got some bags for us. That's generous, we all thought. We all smiled and walked away. "You're gonna regret that," I heard him whisper under his breath. As we were walking, we went to open up the bag and one of my friends said, "Hey, your bag's leaking." Leaking? That was weird. It looked like there was a little stream coming out of it, but the stream wasn't moving. We pulled out a flashlight and we realised that there was a syringe at the bottom of the bag poking through. After opening the bag up and inspecting it, it turned out that this guy had put a dirty old syringe in there. Fuck knows what would have happened if I'd put my hand in and that had jabbed me. During Halloween, there was a group of me and my friends. We had done our trick-or-treating and we all met up at the graveyard. I know it's stupid, but it was really cool being Halloween. There was like mist there and other stuff. It was just really cool overall. We really enjoyed our time there. When we were there, me and my other friend all wanted to go and do some more trick-or-treating, but the others just wanted to stay. Anyway, we eventually got them to agree to do something. It wasn't coming with us. They were going to go and knock for one of my friends, while me and my buddy went off to do more trick-or-treating. We all agreed to meet back at the graveyard. It still looks cool because of the moonlight there. We did so. Me and my buddy were just talking like normal after we finished getting our candy. It was time for us to go back and meet back at the cemetery. So that's what we did. We were walking up there and we had no sign of them. It was weird because it had already been 10 minutes. We just sat there wondering where they were. We both felt pretty uneasy being there. We both just shrugged it off as being the fact that we're in a graveyard in the middle of the night practically. After that, my friend said, "Hey, look, they're there." I looked up and on top of the hill, there was about 5 or 6 people. I say people, I couldn't really tell what they were because it was the dead of night. And the hill that they were on had some tree cover, so the moonlight couldn't pierce the trees. I said, "Yeah, it is. Come on, let's go up to them." We started walking up there calling out their names, but they were silent. It was a type of horrible silence. It's hard to describe, but you literally couldn't hear a sound. It was almost like we hit a wall. They would be talking. Plus there was one too many people for it to be our group. We kept on walking up there, and as we got closer, my buddy pulled to stop me. "Look." I did so, and you could tell they were almost transparent. It's hard to describe, almost like really dark shadows. But at that moment, we realised that we're in a graveyard at the dead of night. Not only that, off in the distance, you could see my actual friends. Needless to say, we bolted the heck out of there, not looking back. We just kept sprinting, panicking, paranoid. There was no other way that was our friends, we just seen them. Our friends caught up with us finally, and wondered why we were so panicked. Mind you, this had only been about a 10 or 15 second period of us absolutely bolting it in their direction. We looked back and pointed and nothing was there. It was like a curtain had just been lifted. There was nothing. It was empty. I still have no clue what it was to this day. Maybe it was other people playing pranks on us, but there was no way that many people could just disappear in the space of 10 seconds or 15 seconds like that. No way. Me and my friend were walking around on Halloween night. We were just joking around, making fun of some of the worst costumes, but admiring some of the really good ones. Anyway, as we did that, what looked like a crazy mental patient sprinted up to me, went to grab me. My buddy and I knew that it was probably a joke, but we both jumped out of the way so she had missed me. What was really strange was that she kept going. She was on her own. It just looked a bit too real. The look in her eye, it was insane. A couple of minutes later, there were two men chasing after us, saying if we had seen her and where she was going. At that point, we realised it wasn't even a prank. I was walking through a park, which I normally did. To be honest, I was trying to avoid the trick-or-treaters because they were so loud it was kind of getting on my nerves. I'd been out shopping and needed to get home. Anyway, I was walking through this big open park with a big field. There's a really old house there which is really tall. Strange stuff happened there. There was a bench I liked to sit on close to it. As I was sitting there just thinking, I heard knocking. I looked round, I couldn't figure out what it was. It was really getting on my nerves, to be honest. Then I looked up. There was an old lady staring at me. Now, this might not sound scary, but you've got to understand that this house has no stairs in it whatsoever, and there's a lady staring at me from about 4 stories up. Where we live is a very remote location. We literally get no visitors whatsoever there. It's really empty. Well, empty, there's lots of fields, but nothing in these fields. So as you'd expect, well, we literally don't have any neighbours for miles, but we don't get any visitors at all. So when Halloween and other seasons come around, we don't take part. We still like to get out decorations and stuff just to be festive, just to make the house look a little bit nicer. Anyway, it was on Halloween night and only I was in because my family had to go out somewhere. So I was sitting in my house alone, watching TV. But the whole time, I could hear these noises outside and tappings and stuff. It was really creepy. I didn't know what it was, and living out there, you've got to be paranoid. I didn't immediately want to grab my gun because I knew it's probably no one. I knew for a fact it wasn't a trick-or-treater when I heard a knock on the door. So I went to the door. What the fuck? Someone smashed and trashed all our pumpkins. It looks like they've just ruined the place. What the fuck? So I went to grab my gun, got a torch and looked around the house. No one. I looked around everywhere. I gone up to the top window where I could see for literally miles through the slightly thinner forested areas. No one. It didn't make any sense. I'm still terrified and get trembly when I think of it today. On Halloween, I decided to take part in a haunted house tour. The whole location was supposedly haunted. It was a really interesting tour. We got some really good history and stuff. I needed to go off to the bathroom, so I decided just to walk off from the group. I told them where I was going and they said just to meet them back there. As I was walking down the stairs, I bumped into a lady. I apologised and kept on my way. After coming back to the bathroom, I said to the tour guide that, "Where did that lady go?" Lady? They just looked at me. She was not a part of the tour, I then realised. Why was that lady? I just saw her dressed in all black. Then the tour guide looked at me and just stared. There's no one else in this house right now other than us. And there's meant to be a lady who haunts this very site. and apparently you can see her walking down the stairs sometimes. During Halloween, I used to work for a haunted tour company. I was always there, but as you can imagine, Halloween was always a time that we'd get the most visitors. My job there was to do maintenance, once everybody had went home, that was. This Halloween was no exception. I had to go around turning off all the lights, getting rid of all the candles and sweeping up. I thought I did my job. I went from all the rooms doing everything required. I went to go. The manager told me that I'd left the room with the lights on. I said no, I haven't. Everything's out. He said, look, them candles are still on there. Oh, he was right. I could see it through the glass. I went up to the room and I couldn't see anything. It was all dark as I'd left it. It was really strange. It just felt uneasy in that room. Why didn't you turn the candles off? I told you to. I looked back and he was right. They were on again. The only thing was, this time we both went back to it. They were definitely off. We went to leave again and they were back on. Needless to say, we both left that house without turning any of the candles off. Thank you guys for watching, and have a happy Halloween.